Hey guys, welcome back. It's Taylor. So I haven't filmed in about a week, I want to say, and that's because I've kind of been in a funk the last few days, and we all get that way. So with that said, I want to talk about relapse and what relapse is for anyone that has depression or anxiety or any kind of disorder or like a drug abuse problem will know what this means. And basically, once you are in a recovery stage, you are kind of like going upward. And you're practicing good habits, healthy things, coping skills. And sometimes we forget what our ultimate goal is. And we start to kind of give up. And that's when we're going, like, we go through a relapse, is what they call it. And relapse in like the depression world is kind of like you're falling back into it. You're falling back into your depression, anxiety, or you're relapsing and you're doing unhealthy things to your body. You're hurting your body, or even worse things. So I want to talk about how to prevent a relapse. And the thing is, you can't really prevent relapses altogether because they're going to happen. No one ever gets it right on the first try, and you make mistakes and you fall back, and that's just part of the recovery process. So I'm not going to say it's not going to happen if you do these things. I'm just giving you some ideas and sharing what I have done to kind of prevent major relapses. So I have a couple things in front of me. So what I have is my relapse prevention plan, and if you've ever been hospitalized in a psychiatric unit, you may have made one of these, or if you were hospitalized for an overdose, you would have made one of these with whoever was like kind of assigned to you. So for now, and then I also have warning signs of relapse. So this was given to me in the hospital so that I can look through it, and if I feel like I am having some of these like symptoms, then that's when I need to seek help. So I want to share these with you so that you can identify for yourself whether you need to get help, talk to someone, so that you know if you're going into a relapse, because there's different stages of it. And so even if you're kind of going through a relapse, then you can prevent it from getting worse or prevent something very bad from happening. So right now, I'm going to go through the warning signs of relapse. And on this page, there's about 32 of them, but I'm just going to, scan through them real quick. I'm not going to go too in-depth unless I see something that's really important. So the warning signs of relapse. The first one is negative thinking. Number 2, controlling behavior. Number 3, excessive worrying. And number 4, perfectionist behavior. Number 5, codependent behavior. Number 6, change in appetite. Number 7, difficulty with sleeping. Number 8, difficulty getting up in the morning. Number 9, fatigue, lethargy. Number 10, feeling bad about yourself. Number 11, feeling less hopeful about the future. Number 12, decreased exercise. Number 13, unwilling to ask for what you want or need. Number 14, procrastination. Number 15, social isolation. Number 16, withdrawal from activities. Number 17, use of alcohol or other drugs. Number 18, irritable, agitated. Number 19, impatient. Number 20, a negative attitude. Number 21, lacking confidence. Number 22, feeling insecure. Number 23, poor judgment. Number 24, misperceptions. Number 25, self-defeating behaviors. Number 26, destructive risk-taking behaviors. Number 27, distrustful of others. Number 28, obsessive thoughts. Number 29, difficulty concentrating. Number 30, not experiencing pleasure in anything you do. Number 31, suicidal thoughts. And number 32, others. So there are a lot of things on this list. things that, like, you know, you might do on an everyday basis that you wouldn't necessarily say, oh, that's a sign of relapse, all the way down to things like suicidal thoughts. And, you know, if you're having maybe one or two of these, like maybe some negative thinking and then maybe procrastination, if you have those two together, I wouldn't say, you know, you need to go to the hospital right away. It just depends. Like, I think if you're having a lot of these, then yes, but not necessarily just because you're having one of them. Like number 9, fatigue. Just because you're tired, you know, you just may not have gotten a lot of sleep, or you had a really, really long day. So I think the point of this sheet is to say, like, if, say, you have this sheet and you're going through it and you check off, like, you know, like 12 or 19 of them, that's a warning sign. But if you go through this sheet and you only check off one and it's not really a big deal, then you kind of have to make that decision for yourself. You have to say to yourself, okay, is this one thing that I checked off, is that something that I should talk to someone about, or is it just like, oh, I'm tired, or I'm feeling insecure? Those are things that need to be worked on with a counselor or yourself, or talking to someone. The only one I would say that if you're just having this one, you need to get help, and that is suicidal thoughts. That is the one exception. Or like if you're being destructive to yourself or others, or you feel like harming someone. There are certain exceptions to where if you're feeling just one of these, then yes. But others, you know, like a change in appetite, if that's the only symptom you're feeling out of all of these, that's when you would need to make the decision for yourself. Okay, am I okay? Am I fine? Or should I go seek help? And if you can't make that decision for yourself, that's when you need to ask someone else. You need to go to your parents, your friends, whoever that you trust, and you need to ask them, so I'm having this symptom, but I don't know if it's serious enough. You can confide in other people, because sometimes you may not know what the best thing is to do. So these are just some of the symptoms, and what I suggest, well, of course there are other symptoms that you may be feeling, but these are a lot of, you know, this is a good sheet of some ideas that you could write down yourself. You could go ahead and replay the video and write down all of the things that I listed. Keep it for yourself. And if one day you're feeling like not good, like unsafe, or just really, really low, you can go through this sheet and check off which ones you think. And if you go through all of those and see which ones you checked off and you think, okay, if I were in a hospital and I were telling a doctor or whoever all of these things that I'm feeling, and if you think that they would say, okay, you're unsafe with yourself, then you should go and get help. But if there's, you know, like I said, other things that you're not really sure, confide in someone, seek help, because you don't always know what is the best thing to do for yourself. So those are the warning signs of relapse. And at the bottom it says, in the early stages of your recovery from anxiety or depression, you can use this item survey to regularly review for the presence of symptoms that indicate that currently there is a relapse, or that relapse is inevitable if immediate intervention with management strategies is not made. As your progress begins to stabilize, review this list to maintain awareness and to reinforce efforts and accomplishments. And sometimes, I think this is a good reminder, because sometimes you're not really thinking about all these things that you're feeling, so you just think, oh, I'm fine. But today I went over this list and I was like, wow, like I have felt a couple of these things and I don't even realize it until I look and think to myself, what am I feeling? What are some of the symptoms that I'm feeling? So I think this is a good idea. It's a good reminder, even just do it once a week, to say, you know, how am I doing this week? Or am I going through a relapse that requires some extra help? So yeah, I think this is a really good thing. And the next thing is my relapse prevention plan. So it looks like this. And what this is, before I left the hospital, I made this with, gosh, I can't remember what his title is, but he was assigned to me. And so this is like a just a little list like that I filled out, and I'll go ahead and read it to you so you can kind of understand, because it's easier than trying to explain it. So there's 12 things on this, and it says my mental health diagnosis is, and right now, the last time I talked about my diagnosis, it was kind of on the edge of two different things. My psychiatrist there at the hospital, after kind like getting to know me, asking me questions, and like observing me, he said that I could be on the border of major depressive disorder, but also bipolar disorder. So it's not yet decided because they don't like to diagnose adolescents with bipolar disorder. So right now it's kind of on the edge. I don't really have a completely clear answer. And I also have psychotic episodes or psychosis. So that is my mental health diagnosis for now. Number 2, the symptoms I experience with my illness are I experience extreme mania and extreme depression, anxiety, and sensitivity, which is like crying, yelling, or emotional. Number 3, stressful events that endangered my mental health and put me in crisis, and that was an overdose. Number 4, what can I do to avoid stressful events in the future? I put using coping skills and take control of my thoughts. Number 5, current stressors in my life are my depression and people, like at the time I was very hurt by some people, so that's what I put down. 3 ways I can reduce my stress are breathing, exercises, praying, and reading poetry, which these are all things that calm me down. 3 of my positive qualities are I am kind, I am helpful, and I put others before myself. Now the last one like could be positive or negative, but I just put that down there. Supportive friends, family members that I can call on a regular basis. So for friends, I guess I put down my counselor. She's not my counselor anymore, but her name was Tracy, so I put her down, and I put my mom. Number 9, a daily community leisure healing activity that I will engage in is yoga and breathing and relaxation, and I still do that now. This is from August of 2015, but I also have taken up more things. Like in my last video, I said that I play guitar. I go to a gym in my town and exercise about 5 days a week. I do a lot of different activities that can help me stay concentrated on positive goals that I want to meet in my future. 10. An activity that I will definitely avoid is drugs and alcohol. Number 11. 3 steps I will take to prevent relapse when symptoms return or get worse. I will see my therapist. I will find boundaries for my depression and use coping skills. So finding boundaries for my depression, what that means is not allowing things to go outside of what they need to be. So if I find myself in a negative situation that I think will make my depression worse, I cut it off right there and I make a boundary so that that doesn't happen. So I don't even allow myself to be in those situations. So I make boundaries for myself so that my depression doesn't get worse or a relapse doesn't occur. So that's what that means. And if I begin to relapse, so if I am in a relapse and I am feeling all these awful symptoms and I know if I don't take action, something bad will happen, I will contact my therapist so she can help me find a healthy alternative to my stress. So what that means is in July, at the end of like July 20th or something, I was placed in the psychiatric unit for adolescents. And how that happened, I won't go into too much detail, this will be for a different video, but this kind of relates to the relapse prevention plan, the last one about contacting my counselor. I was going through a relapse very badly during this time, and I had an appointment with my counselor, so I was talking to her and I was explaining how awful I was feeling, my symptoms, and I was saying that I didn't feel safe with myself. So she helped me get the help that I needed. And sometimes you have to go to other people in order to get help because you can't always help yourself. And so she helped me. And so that is what I will do again if I have a relapse. Because I can't always help myself, other people have to help me get that help. Because if I didn't have a counselor, it would have been really hard for me to get admitted because I had to go to the hospital. They had to admit me downstate. So it's important that all of this is kind of organized and figured out, because if I didn't have these things, these resources that I have, and I had a relapse, I would have nowhere to go, really. I mean, I have my friends and family, but I wouldn't have, I wouldn't have a place to go that could help me figure these things out like the hospital helped me figure these things out. So I think the most important lesson that you can take out of this is know your limits, know your boundaries, and recognize when you are about to relapse, or you think you're going to relapse, or if you are relapsing. And that's when you need to take action, because if you don't, a relapse is the most dangerous place to be, because the decisions that you make aren't always wise and you're not thinking correctly. It's kind of like you're blinded, like something has blinded you. And so that's why it's important to get other people's thoughts or have other people help you, because you can't always make the decisions for yourself. So just recognize when you're going through a relapse. And if you are worried about relapse and you don't really know, well, I don't feel good, but I don't know if this is serious enough, I would copy that list down that I read and maybe make a relapse prevention plan, because these are things that keep me focused. I know that I can think about these things, but when I have a paper right in front of me, it forces me to recognize what is happening. It forces me to read it and really think about what's going on. So that's all I have for today. I think this is something that's really important because although I am doing well at the moment, relapses can happen because we're all human. And so it's important to have these things set aside for if and when something like this happens. So yeah, I just want to thank you guys for watching my video, and I hope you guys took something out of this. Let me know what you want to see next. Kind of running out of ideas. I have a lot of ideas, but there's so many that I'm trying to organize my thoughts and figure out, okay, what is relevant, what's not, what do people want to see. So that's all I have for today, and thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys soon.